Hi, and welcome to another episode of Can't Stop the Growth. I'm your host, Chad Peterman, and today we have a very special guest, Zac Adams, who is a service technician for us here at Peterman Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. Excited to talk with him this morning about what brought him into the trade and what he continues to do out in the field, serving customers, growing himself, and continuing to improve. So welcome to the podcast, Zac. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Awesome. Well, Zac, as we start off, why don't you give us a little bit of your background and kind of what's brought you to this point in your career?
I started about 4 or 5 years ago in the field, no experience. Decided when I wanted to have a family, it was time to have a big boy jump. So I was excited to start it, and 4 or 5 years ago, and then moving up the ladder per se, I guess, and led me to this point and joining Peterman. And heard a lot of good things about the company. So I'm looking forward to not only working on myself, the customer service standpoint of it, but hopefully at one point become a team lead or even a leader inside the building.
Absolutely. What for you coming into the trade? Obviously, you said you started 4 or 5 years ago with really no experience. What were some of those things that attracted you to the industry?
To be honest with you, there was nothing that really. It was just a skilled trade that was 5 minutes from my house. There was a business that is 5 minutes from my house. I just decided to. I was a friend of mine that used to work there as well, and it was like, hey, just come in and talk to the boss, and he basically hired me right there and gave me a chance from that beginning, and I just kept on moving up.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I think that so many times in this industry, it just takes someone giving someone a chance, and then watching what good things can happen from there. Take us on a little bit of that early or those early years. I'm sure that there's people that are probably in a similar situation. Hey, are the trades for me? Is this something that I want to do? What were some of those early hurdles that you ran into that could have prevented you from moving forward, but obviously you made it over those? What were some of those early struggles that you had getting into the industry?
I would say negativity. I am very, I ain't gonna lie, I'm very down on myself. So when I decided to go from one company to another, a lot of negativity, a lot of pushback from that. Also, that basically it's just the negativity. It was getting down on myself, and I had to learn to get over that quickly before
Yeah.
I.
Absolutely. What are some of those things? I mean, I think that is those of you listening that don't, kind of taking you through the day in the life of a service technician. You're spending a lot of time by yourself. There's going to be times when you're going to face challenging customers, and probably very easy to get into that negative headspace. What do you do as a technician out there that may be able to help others as it relates to kind of getting yourself in that right headspace when you do face a challenge?
When you face a challenge, I've learned to just reverse psychology type deal, to stay positive and explain to the customer, or even explain to anybody that and that fact while you're wherever you're at, that everything's going to be okay. I mean, I know everything costs money, but we're here to help you and to get you heat or cooling or whatever it might be in that challenging hurdle.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is a very common thing. We're walking into customers' homes, and anxiety is high. There's the fear of the unknown. What is this going to cost? What is actually wrong? Am I going to have to make a big repair? Am I going to be without heat? Whatever that is. what do you do, or what things have you learned to do with the customer that help kind of ease those nerves, that help you kind of level with them so that you can better take care of them?
To be honest, I look for, I mean, if they have kids, I start joking around with them. The dogs, the dogs are my, the dogs are my go-to. You
Yeah.
know, and when I run into, I've lost my dog treats. I used to have a bunch of dog treats in my car or my truck, and I run into that, nice dog or even mean dog, break the ice a little bit with the customer, bring it down, knowing that I'm as human as what they are, and it brings that anxiety level down to where it's not so bad, and then they know that we're not there just to make money off of them.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think you bring up a really good point, and I'd like to get some of your thoughts on it. I always talk about, I was always, when I first got into this, very intimidated by the mechanical side of this business, because I wasn't good at that stuff, and I didn't know anything about it. And I always tell people that where I found my comfort zone is when I realized that this is a people business, not so much a mechanical business. What would you say to the notion that, you know, being successful on a service call and taking care of a customer is more about diagnosing the person as opposed to the system? What are kind of your thoughts on that as you've been out in the field and kind of dealt with tons of different customers?
Diagnosing the person is way more important, because you learn how the household is, the person is, and the mechanical side of it. I mean, and I agree with you 100%. It's very intimidating, but you can't show that to the customer, because if you show intimidation on that equipment and you don't know what you're doing or you're looking at, it's when that anxiety level is going to go through the roof. And that's where the breaking the barriers down versus, or talking to the customers, hanging out with them. I was told, a couple of days ago that I like to talk, and so that's all this is. It's the customer service standpoint of it, and breaking those barriers down versus the mechanical side. You've got to really split it, because you got to let them know that you're there for them and not just the mechanical side of it.
Certainly, certainly. And I think too that this is one of those things that, from a leadership perspective, obviously we talk a lot about leadership on this podcast, and one of the things that I'm a huge proponent of is understanding that customer service is both to your external customer, and it's also to your internal customer. And as we communicate with our internal customer, we also have to understand that very thing that you just talked about, is that this is a people business, and we have to diagnose the person before we can diagnose whatever it is that we need to work on as it relates to their performance in the field, or this metric or that metric. What's something that maybe a manager in the past, or a leader that you observed, what's something that they have maybe done that has helped you connect more to kind of that people side of things, that understanding that there is someone there that cares about your development and cares about your advancement in your own career? What's something that you could point out that a manager has done that's really resonated with you?
Um, Understanding that we're all human, the positivity. I've only been with Peterman for a month, but I can tell you, that month that I've been here, it's more positive vibes, willing to work with you, family issues going on, willing to work. And I'm going to go to the service or the manager for Peterman, with Alan. It's been nothing more than a positive vibe from top to bottom. And, I got stuff coming up with my daughter that it's he's like, yeah, just give me the dates, give me the times, and we'll get you taken care of, no questions asked. And that's not I'm not used to that. I'm used to the pushback a little bit because you have to have that numbers covered. If you lose a body, then you lose those 4 calls to somebody else, and it's cool that basically the positivity is the manager standpoint of it is that's unreal.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely dumb. I'm just crazy about how the positivity in that building is.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that is something that can very easily get overlooked, and I think it gets overlooked because of what you said. It gets overlooked because we're too focused on the number. And I'm a huge believer that if we focus on the person and we show that we care, and a lot of that care comes in, yeah, maybe looking at some of the things that we're doing out in the field, but then rather than criticizing, offering help. Hey, Zac, I noticed you're struggling with this a little bit. Tell me a little bit about, you know, what's your approach when you go through that? Oh, okay, well, I'm doing it like this. Okay, well, what if we tried it like this? Well, okay, well, heck, I'll give it a whirl. I got some calls to run today. So, what have you seen as far as the difference between um, when a group is positive versus negative when it comes to problem solving? So, where do you see yourself, or have you seen a group in the past really excel because of the positivity versus the negativity?
The negativity, you see people just slumped over talking and not really having any ideas versus if you had, it just takes that one person to really get that positive vibe going. It gets that one person that says, let's do all this. And then, the adrenaline gets kicking in and people see that they're having fun. And that's the key is the positivity leads to fun, to not so stressed, not so anxiety. I mean, I'm not good to talk in front of people. I mean, I'm doing the podcast, and this is out of my comfort zone, and I'm okay with it. I'm straight up okay with that. But that's one thing that I told myself, going into uh, a new journey, that it's time to get out of my comfort zone. It's time to be the positive, start trying to be positive more versus the negative.
Yeah, man, it's so powerful. The whole comfort zone thing, and people probably get tired of me saying it around here, but kind of that get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that's where we truly grow. And I'm so grateful that you're stepping out of your comfort zone to do this. Obviously, this is not something that people do on a regular basis, so that's really cool. And there again, it's a new experience for you. So while nervous, what I've found, heck, I was nervous to start interviewing people on this. Jared will tell you that. This is why we kind of started with internal people. I was like, I need to practice first. Like, I don't want, I don't want to bring a stranger on here. I'm going to totally embarrass myself. Um, what do you do kind of in your personal life? It sounds like you've really connected with understanding, hey, I need to grow, I need to get better. What's maybe a couple of things that you're doing kind of on a personal level that you see really working for you and for your growth and development?
Just well, one of the things that I'm going to try to start doing is reading, because that's where again, last month I've learned that maybe it's just time to open a book and read, about the positive vibes, about how to become a better worker, a father to my kids, be a better husband type deal. Um, I'm also trying to be a better person at home to my kids, not saying no all the time and working on myself personally. But really how the day goes is how I control that. I don't understand how I do that because I could have a bad day when I go out in the field, but I need to really tone it down when I come home and leave it in that vein and then come home and be in that positive high mode. And I'm learning. I mean, it's going to happen. It just takes time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I think you hit on a few key things there. Is it takes time, and it takes work. I consider myself a very positive person. Because I know that that's what my team needs. You've mentioned it multiple times. Is me coming in negative or my head down or something like that is not what my team needs, and that's not what they're going to feed off of. But I think the one thing that people maybe don't understand, and that it seems like you really get, is it takes work. Like there are things that happen in life that aren't fun. You wake up and you're tired. You wake up and the kids are screaming, or they don't want to put on their jacket, or all of these things may have happened this morning for me. But they don't want to get in the car. They want this. They want that. All of these things can definitely take you into a negative space. And one of the things that I've learned is really made an effort to either read or listen to something positive first thing in the morning. It's amazing how just a few words can get you, okay, all right, I can do this. Like, it's going to be a good day. We got this. I don't feel great, or I'm tired, or I've got a million things to do, or I had a bad day yesterday. But just understanding that every day is a new opportunity, and the more days that we go into with a positive attitude, and an attitude of, hey, we're going to get something done today, the more day, or the fewer days we waste in that negative space where we're going nowhere, but backwards. I listened to something not too long ago. Is how do I stay in neutral? So, like, there are going to be days when you're not going to feel like giving 110%. Just is what it is. That's life. But how do I stay in neutral? How do I not go backwards, because then I have to use the next day to make up for that, to get back to where I was. So I think that's incredibly important. And I don't think our service guys get the credit that they deserve for being able to stay in a good headspace, because it's difficult. I mean, you're dealing with a new set of circumstances every door you walk up to. And so in order to navigate that is very difficult. So I appreciate all your efforts there. I think that is tremendous. And I think we can even do more in the way of providing positive stuff. I think that's what the original intent of this podcast was, so that you guys could listen to it out in the field while you're driving or whatever it may be, just to provide that positivity needed to continue moving forward. What you mentioned, advancing your career, becoming a team lead. What is it about kind of leadership and leading others is attractive to you?
Just being there when somebody needs help. Enough times you try to call somebody. You may only have one team lead, you may have 17 leads, but you call one person and they're not answering their phone. You call multiple people, they're not answering their phone. Where, before I came here, I was getting phone calls from a bunch of service techs, that were like, hey, what would you do here? And that was cool. Like, I was like, and then when I stepped foot in this field, at Peterman, it's time to get out. It's time to get out of that comfort zone and be a leader.
Yeah.
Be there with people when they need help, or even to talk to. I'm not comparing my life to your life or anybody else's life, but I mean, I can give you a little bit of pointers. I mean, and I like being there for somebody that when they need it.
Yeah, well, and I think you bring up a great point. Is we can all be a leader regardless of our title. We're a leader by the way that we carry ourselves and our willingness to help others. We can help others from wherever it is we are in the organization. It does not matter. And I think that the one thing that a lot of people miss, and it seems like that you've figured out, which I commend you on, is the understanding that leadership is not something we wait for. It's something that we do today. It's actions that we take today that are ultimately going to prepare us for when that opportunity does present itself. And the minute that we start acting today like the person that we want to be in the future, the closer we will draw ourselves to who it is we actually want to be, or who we aspire to be, or whatever that is. Who, as I talk about, aspirations and stuff like that, who's someone in your life that you've kind of looked up to or used as kind of a role model? What effect have they had in your life?
Well, there's really only couple people. I grew up as hard life and issues going on. I got married. My wife is definitely one of my inspirations, and I don't mean that because she's laying in the next room probably laughing at me because I'm full. But she's one of the toughest persons I've ever met. She doesn't give up. She's got it. Again, I'm not comparing my life to her life, but she had it rough, and yet she's here, and she's raising my two kids. My The other one is passed away this past Thanksgiving. I think either this Thanksgiving or last Thanksgiving, and it's my father-in-law. Because regardless of the situation with my wife or not, he was the only person that really gave me a chance and liked me for me. He's a hard worker, loved his kids. I mean, that's where my heart is. I mean, yes, customer service is where I need to be in the field, but my kids are my number one, regardless of where I'm at, and that's where it needs to be. And that's where my inspiration to be a better person, be a better role model is because it's how the kids. It's because my kids is pushing me to that point of it's time to be a big boy and not be this little 15, 16-year-old kid that doesn't care anymore.
Yeah, that's so powerful. I mean, as it relates to leadership, it's always, someone's always watching. Our kids are watching probably more than anybody. And so, how do we carry ourselves? I oftentimes think about that as, if we're looking at our actions in context of the people that we work with, well, it's easy to be sometimes negative because we can probably find somebody on our team that will support our negativity, that will say, hey, yeah, this really sucks, or, this is a terrible day, or, all of those things, they can feed off of one another. But oftentimes I kind of filter my actions through what would my daughter say if she saw me acting like this? What, being that she is extremely impressionable, what would she do, or what is there the likelihood of her to do as she grows older, knowing that, well, dad acted like that, well, he thought it was okay to be negative, or he saw the negativity in this particular situation, so I guess I can too. And I think that's extremely powerful, especially as it relates to, you mentioned your wife. My wife's also, one of those same people. Got a lot of those same things you said, I would say about her, just very strong, and, supports me. And I try to support her as well. So, yeah, I think that's just awesome. And I think it really speaks to the person that you are, and the person that you want to be for others. Well, wrapping up here, Zac, is again, I appreciate you joining. I appreciate you, admitting that this was not the most comfortable thing for you. I'm getting more comfortable, so I appreciate you allowing me to practice at this. But is there anything else that you'd like to share as it relates to your own personal growth, or helping those, or things that you found that are beneficial?
Like I said, I've been with Peterman for a month, and I've literally opened my eyes that there's bigger things out there, and don't give up your dream because of somebody saying you lied, or you're a failure. Don't let your backstory ruin your future, because there is a bright future out there for I'm just going to be honest with you. The Top Tech Academy people have blew me out of the water, and that's awesome. Stay focused on your dreams, because they're reachable. If you want to stay focused and stay positive, they're reachable.
Awesome stuff, man. You got me fired up. It's going to be a good Friday because we got people like you on our team. So you go out there and have a fantastic day. Stay warm this weekend as winter has, I guess, finally arrived here in Indy. A little late, but it will be here nonetheless. So thanks again for joining us. A lot of great insights there that you shared with us. And your focus on your dreams. I think there's an extremely bright future for you here. And we are able to do what we do because of people like you. So thank you very much. Everybody have a great day. And thanks again for joining us, Zac.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.